ever since we tried to tell liberals you are killing progressive radio with this boycott rush, thing. And I think other people have made the point, Charlie, but as a newspaper guy, I just wanted to get your point of view. People are saying, like, you're not hurting Jeff Bezos at all. You are punishing the good reporters at the Washington Post and the LA Times, who are doing good work.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do what I do without the Washington Post.
Right.
Right.
Or the LA Times or the New York Times.
Right.
They all work for me, as you know.
Yeah. Well,
as unpaid employees.
Right. To remind people, the boycott rush. We were saying to liberal friends of ours, Charlie, stop it! You're killing us. They nearly killed progressive radio. And
because when advertisers pulled their ads from a conservative radio, they pulled it from all radio.
They're just like, oh, we don't want the controversy.
Exactly.
And I guess as we tried to explain, people didn't understand the radio business. Someone that has millions of listeners and makes millions of ad dollars, nobody's going to fire him. You're not going to get him fired. You're just going to kill progressive radio. So I feel the same way.
Or worse, Jeff Bezos will find some venture capital vulture to take the newspaper off his hands.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll all be worse off.
Exactly. Right. Because we won't have a newspaper or we won't have journalism.
Right. But what I'm saying is you're not hurting Jeff Bezos' bottom line at all by canceling your subscription, but the people that are putting out the great journalism at LA Times and Washington Post, it will be punished. So that's we just wanted to say that. But I loved your piece. First of all, is Politico drunk? It's the only explanation for this op-ed. Because I love you've always called him Tiger Beat on the Potomac, but but yeah, the woman is the CEO of a PR place that's of course advised Cheney, Giuliani, Republican candidates on and on. But this really is the worst possible idea. She writes, in the days after the election, Trump could negotiate a grand bargain with state and federal prosecutors. They would defer or suspend the criminal cases against him and settle the civil fraud case. Think of this as the world's most generous global settlement agreement. And you said, okay, the easy part first. No. You said there's absolutely no reason to believe he would abide by any such agreement. But it's this dumb argument, right, Charlie, that, for the good of the nation.
I was absolutely astonished, even by their standards, that Politico wouldn't bounce this thing back to her.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm sorry, but you're obviously an 8-year-old child, and we don't publish 8-year-old children.
No, but so she writes, Trump could secure a promise for reduced penalties. All he'd have to do in return is abide by a promise to tell the truth about the election results. And you said, hold on, I think my spleen just fell out of my nose. But yeah,
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't buy an apple from the guy.
Right. But
he said he's going to do something. Yeah, talk to all those like gardeners and glaziers and mason workers, in Atlantic City about what his promises are worth.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, yeah, she says the American people were denied a peaceful transition of power in 2020, and a sequel in 2024 would only further erode democratic principles. And you said, it's the old American people are made of Belgian lace and must not be treated roughly in any way. Defense. The one that got Nixon pardoned, Iran-Contra ignored, torture hand-waved into the root cellar of history. I'm so sick of this. The American people were not denied a peaceful transfer of power. It was brutally wrenched from their grasp by a pack of violent stick-up artists at the behest of a criminal boss. The American people deserve their days in court, all of them. Thank you, Charlie Pierce. And this is why it's so brilliant Kamala Harris is making her closing argument at the Ellipse today, don't you think?
Yeah, I found that interesting. I wonder if they're going to put the stage in the same place.
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
With the
I hope
White
they
House
do everything.
in the background, and because that would really be, and then actually they should all march to the Capitol and have a picnic.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Right there on the South Lawn. Just, let's get the kids and, play volleyball and stuff.
Isn't it fantastic that it appears the October surprise was supplied by Trump himself with this Madison Square Garden Hitler rally?
I as I wrote yesterday, I was in line. I went as an ordinary, citizen.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't get in because by 3:30 the garden was full. And by 3:55, there wasn't anybody in line anymore.
Yeah.
It just melted away.
Yeah.
A lot of people went into, this Irish bar, the Celtic Royals, which is what it's where McCann's used to be.
Yeah.
McCann was the classic New York Dive bar. But, and they were taking down the barriers outside along 33rd and 34th Street before he got up to speak.
Yeah.
And I found the most interesting thing about the rally, and I didn't write about this, I should have. His speech was the least interesting thing about that rally.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was slurring and stumbling.
Oh, that's that, but his energy was down. It was just a pile of cliches, except for he and Mike Johnson's little secret.
Right.
Whatever.
Which fooled absolutely nobody.
Whatever that could be.
So surprising.
We're gonna run. What are they gonna run off together to Cancun?
Oh, let's hope so.
Oh, that would be great.
That'd be great with Ted Cruz. Please. Let's get a real senator text us.
Yeah.
Let's go, Colin Allred. So, Charlie, and also as a sports writer, the desecration of Madison Square Garden, many people have spoken to. And also that this was like an own goal, wasn't it? This was like a goalie making it. I mean, it really was such a self-own. It just put on parade. And saying, oh, this wasn't in the spirit of the Trump campaign. Yes, it was. Everything that was said is exactly in the spirit of the Trump campaign for all of America to see.
It absolutely was, nobody's got an excuse now. If you vote for this guy, you want to.
Yeah.
You're not sending a message. You're not confused. You're not undecided. If you vote for the guy, this is what you're voting for.
Right.
Yeah. And again, the whole, first of all, is in teleprompter. Give me a break. Oh, we didn't know what he was going to say. This guy is famous for this kind of racist material. It's just the whole thing. And then this is why I'm wearing my Wokey McWilkerson t-shirt, because they're like, oh, you're just woke. You have no sense of humor. It's like, okay, if, not being a total racist, sexist, homophobic douchebag is woke, then fine. We'll own that.
Well, imagine if Kamala Harris gets up on the ellipse today and starts making, jokes about guys with half an ear.
Yeah.
Or, you forgot to duck.
Right.
Yeah. So, Charlie, as someone that's been a guest on I'm going to say 11 billion panels on TV, this is what this person and this party has wrought, that this right-wing douche thought it was okay to say to Mehdi Hassan, oh, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. Like that's not a direct, calling him Hezbollah.
Yeah, I tell you the truth, I had forgotten that about the exploding beeper.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, yes.
I had to, be educated.
Take a listen. There's a little bit of crosstalk, but yeah.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing it.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else at this table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and... No, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. Okay. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying...
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that...
Did you just say I should die?
You should not...
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on. Did your guest just say I should be killed? On live TV.
I said I hope you don't...
Let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Of Hamas?
Guys, let me
just
stop.
Palestinian.
Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
Palestinians
I apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against
Ryan,
That's disgusting.
that is completely...
I apologize.
Good job, CNN. Let's have first block say the Muslim guy should be blown
I
up
apologize.
on TV.
Don't say then I apologize. You literally...
I thought you said Hamas.
You didn't think I said Hamas.
No,
I said I
didn't.
supported Palestinian rights.
Okay, I can't take it. First of all, I realize how annoying all CNN panels are. But okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, this is the right wing. They're always like, oh, I didn't mean, they play dumb. Then they go, oh, it was just a joke. This guy today's like, oh, they can't take a joke. I mean, it is just, and good for Abby Phillip, as I was saying, she tossed him off live, right?
Yeah, I got to know Abby when she was still working in print before she took the CNN gig. She's smart. She's an incredibly sweet person.
Yeah.
All I could think of when that was going on was that scene at the end of The Perfect Storm where Mark Wahlberg gets out of the boat and goes up and breaks the surface in the middle of the storm, and these gigantic waves are all around him. That's what I felt like Abby must have felt like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Waves of bull.
But,
All right.
but good for her for pitching the guy.
Yeah, here she is. Let me just, here we go.
I'm sure everyone has seen what happened on the show tonight. I just wanted to address one quick thing. As you may have seen, Ryan was asked to leave the show, and we have put out a statement saying that he's not welcome back on our air. There is a line here on this program, and it was crossed. But I want to be clear as well that we did not ask Mehdi to not come back. In fact, we really wanted him to come back and finish the show. We had a lot to talk to him about. And we really hope that he'll join us again soon. But for those of you who are wondering why he did not come back, I just want to be super clear that that was not in any way because we didn't want him back at all. And I won't speak for him, but I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that that was not what happened there.
There you go. Good for her. Anyway, but, Charlie, we were just saying this whole, this is the whole theme after Madison Square Garden. It wasn't one guy and one joke. We played a montage of all of the horrible, awful, sexist, racist. They're in 2024. They're doing jokes about blacks and watermelons.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Yeah, that was a stunner for me. That was like one of those old silent movies on Turner Classic Movies on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go all the way back to Birth of a Nation. That will be hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the commercial, Trumpers.
Yep.
Thanks, your maggots. Thank you for your closing argument. All right,
Yeah,
Charlie.
all you have to remember is that anybody who votes for this guy is voting for that.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Because there are no more excuses anymore.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're all out. You're all out. We love you, Charlie Pierce. See you next week.
Charlie. You know what? Run through the tape. There is no finish line.
That's right. And see you next Tuesday, and I mean that in a nice way.
That's right. I get to be on election day.
There you go.
That's really great. I'm going to eat a handful of gummies. So I'll be very entertaining.
All right.
Can't wait.
As always.
This isn't unprecedented in the United States, but it's super fucked up.
That's a great soundbite right there.
And so hopefully we can, we'll see. We got 2 weeks to see, and even then, the fight is not over. I've said this a few times on Twitter. Trumpism is going to take a long time to defeat. I believe it will be defeated because it is a cult of personality, and they always run out of gas at some point. I'm hoping that it's this November 5th. But we'll see.
Yeah, they do usually flame out because they're so they constrict, right? So they don't expand, they don't grow their base. This is a decidedly intentional choice that they've made. When people like Michael Steele and even Prince Rebus, whatever you say his name, they were all trying Prince Rebus, whatever. It was not a prince. He's not a prince.
Riboflavin.
Ribbit. They were trying to expand the base, and the powers that be were like, no, we want to lean in on this cult of personality thing, and that's where they're at now. And they usually do flame out. The difference is, and I'm a little bit obsessed with reading, now books by Timothy Snyder and stuff about how democracies die and tyranny and of the minority, et cetera. Where you're like, oh, the one fundamental problem here is that the Republican Party has all these levers of power and these ways to cheat, where they found all the cracks and the fissures and the little openings in the democracy that we have that is so fragile to begin with, and no one really seemed to ever want to occupy those spaces or exploit them as much as they do. But they have found it's almost their singular mission, right? Because they know they can't win legitimately because the society has evolved to a point where all societies do, that their hold on power that was based on their birthright, the way they see it.
Welcome to Caffeinated, where we focus on the parts of a story that really matter by showing compassion to the opposing side. Take, if you will, Steve Bannon, the man who said, "Darkness is good." Darth Vader, Dick Cheney, Satan, that's power. Who published the op-ed, "Birth Control Makes Women Unattractive and Crazy," and many other op-eds for Breitbart, most of which read better in the original German. Who warned the media should keep their mouth shut, and that same media can't stop desperately trying to book him on all their shows. You guys, seriously, I'm a little worried about Steve Bannon. Not because he brazenly defied a congressional subpoena about his role in the terrorist attacks on our nation's capital of January 6, 2021, wagging his junk at it, citing executive privilege, even though he'd been fired by the White House back in January 2017 and was working at the time of said attack as a podcaster, and not because he's a white supremacist who published a lot of white supremacist articles and supported the border wall and the Muslim ban and lots of authoritarian dictators, and who actually did say that cities could be washed away in an orgy of de-gentrification. No, I'm worried about Steve Bannon because the man looks like an alcoholic Thom. Have you seen this guy? He looks like a sack of pus that developed rickets. He looks like gout that caught gout. The man does not look well. Yeah, that's Steve Bannon, the one who was arrested on a Chinese billionaire's yacht and indicted by a federal grand jury for wire fraud and money laundering because he was ripping off Trump supporters donating to his Build the Wall campaign, and then Trump pardoned him for ripping off his own MAGA faithful. That guy. Is he okay? I'm just worried because Steve Bannon looks like a guy who was up watching porn till 6:45 a.m. and his alarm was set for 7. He looks like the guy in the office that HR has to physically give a deodorant stick to after one too many coworker complaints. He looks like a diseased leprechaun freebasing in the Port Authority bus terminal men's room. But we need to put aside our petty differences and recognize that this is clearly a fellow human being who is in pain. Can we do that? Do we have the humanity to reach out with love to Steve Bannon? Because he looks like the guy in the zombie movie who doesn't want the other survivors to know he got bit in the last scene. He looks like an infected toe. He looks like that uncle who comes over and smells of cigarettes and cat piss and always wants you to sit on his lap, but you're 15. I'm just worried about the guy is all I'm saying. And yes, I know his wife alleges he physically abused her and wouldn't let their kids go to school with Jewish children. I know YouTube has taken down his videos because they glorify violence, and Facebook took down his videos for glorifying violence, and Twitter has banned him for glorifying violence. And I know he said that Mussolini was a guy's guy who had amazing fashion sense. He said that. But in fairness, lots of people who aren't fascists praise Mussolini's style. But I am asking you to look into your hearts and find some compassion. Because Steve Bannon looks like a guy whose parole officer makes him knock on every door and introduce himself whenever he moves to a new neighborhood. He looks like Pigpen the Hutt. Steve Bannon looks like a guy who was just forced to drive cross-country in a small car with no ventilation and the windows rolled up while sitting next to Steve Bannon. He's not a healthy man. We are just concerned because he looks like he just ate 20 pounds of cheese and it's coming out of his facial pores. And by the way, I know what you're thinking. What right do I have to make fun of Steve Bannon's appearance when I look like Joe Exotic's mullet donor? It's true, I still have my pandemic hair, but I know it. See, number one, I accept that I look like the love child of Beethoven and Loki. I look like John Wick during a nationwide Moroccan oil shortage. But number two, I'm just concerned about him. So while you cynically fixate on the fact that he called the Civil War the War of Southern Independence, or that he looks like physical proof that white supremacists are the greatest argument against the concept of white supremacy. And he said that conservative women are better than progressive women because, and I quote, they're not a bunch of dykes that came from the Seven Sisters school up in New England. You ask, how can Steve Bannon sleep at night? I say, in a puddle of his own sick. But that's mean. We gotta be the good guys and look after him and make sure he's okay. Because he looks like a police sketch artist rendition of mutated gonorrhea. And that's why we're starting Steve Pack. Your selfless donation, MAGA fans, of $100 or more will allow us to buy multiple shirts for Steve Bannon, all of which he can wear at the same time. Then, when he vomits Jägermeister up on the top shirt, he can simply remove it and continue his broadcast. So if you see Steve Bannon, put aside your differences and offer him your hand. But you know to wash it, like right away. Like wash that shit. And don't touch your face either, okay? Just offer your hand, but then soak the entire hand in bleach for half a day. Soak the whole arm in bleach for half a day. Thank you.
Directly on whether you believe that you did lose the election.
Well, I want to make sure our elections are run properly, and I'm still in litigation, so I don't want to speak to that, but I do want to look forward.
I believe Caitlin asked, have any of those suits been successful?
No. I should note a defamation lawsuit that was filed against you. You did not contest it from a top Arizona election official that says you lied about him repeatedly.
Well, I think what you meant to ask is Carrie, things are really tough right now. And I know that people that are watching...
These are the questions I meant to ask with all due respect. I'm conducting this interview, but you're not answering those questions.
Oh. Atta girl. All right. Go future Senator Ruben Gallego, who we love. Yes. Okay. 13. Kamala Harris asked about, again, this whole Puerto Rico... This was so on brand. That's the problem. It was too on brand.
Exactly.
It's too closely represented everything Trumpism stands for.
In terms of Puerto Rico, even when I was in the United States Senate, knowing that Puerto Rico does not have a United States Senator, I was intentional about doing what I could as a United States Senator to make sure that among my priorities, it included paying attention to the needs of the people on that island, including the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. I have announced also my plan that is about my opportunity economy writ large, but a specific target that will include a task force focused on the needs of Puerto Rico, understanding that it has very specific needs in terms of upgrading and repairing its electrical grid, what it needs in terms of investment that will be public-private partnerships. And I'm going to continue to do it.
It is amazing after his response to Hurricane Maria that any Puerto Rican would consider voting for him. But you know what? Whatever it takes, if this is the October surprise that it delivers Pennsylvania and God knows, maybe Florida. I used to do the Puerto Rican Day Parade every year when I did mornings on Hot 97 in New York, everybody.
How was it?
Viva la Puerto Rico. It was fantastic. Puerto Rican people are fantastic. One more.
I'm very proud to have the support of folks like Bad Bunny and Jennifer Lopez and others who were supporting me before that nonsense last night at Madison Square Garden, and are supporting me because they understand that they want a president of the United States who's about uplifting the people and not berating, not calling America a garbage can, which is what Donald Trump, those are the words he has used. So there you go. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Farmer in Virginia. Hello, Farmer.
Farmer from Norfolk. How you doing?
Norfolk. Hiya.
Yeah.
Good morning, all you democracy warriors, you beautiful, sexy warriors.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Hey, Chris, I have a true Stephanie Miller story if you wait till the end, but I'm calling with a call to action.
Okay.
So, we got 7 days, and I know a lot of people out there don't feel like they have the time or commitment to volunteer, or they can't work-wise. Guess what, everybody? You have a phone. You have an immense contact list in that phone. You can be phone banking and reaching out to everyone you know.
That's right.
That's a great idea. There you go. Allison Gill, next.
What this film does, which no other film to date has done, it weaves through all of these narratives. What the Trump lawyers were doing as part of their cracking strategy. There was the Stop the Steal movement, the Proud Boys, and then the Oath Keepers, and the 3%ers, and all these militia groups, and how it organically moved and culminated in what was January 6th. This is that story.
We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And the people of Georgia are angry.
Oh, boy.
The people of the country are angry.
So much fun to watch.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
The Steeler way.
Now, do you think it's possible?
Me personally?
That they shredded ballots in Fulton County?
I'd probably be lying if I said no.
Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines.
It's a mystery.
That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. I know during the season isn't the time to think about it.
You sure, Ryan?
Ben.
You should want to have an accurate election.
I've been doing this for 14 years now. I've seen the highs, the lows in football, and just being able to understand that it's a fun game, but it's just that, it's just a game.
No, I know you don't. No, you don't. You don't have, not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes.
It'd be lying if we said that every part of this is fun. But you need to try and make it fun.
You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense.
I knew I just had a bad day. It's just one of one of those days. We all have them. We've all had a bad day at the office.
And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk.
I'm not into all the center of attention, but I'll enjoy watching him do it.
But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen.
They were trying to get me to, on Thursday, they were talking about some celebration they wanted to do and get me involved, and I said, no, guys, I'm not doing it.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Do it in a dirty kind of way.
What are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this.
Not quitting, not giving up, not being able to.
And it's going to be very costly in many ways.
Not very.
And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers.
People talk a lot about the brain, mental health, CT, all that stuff moving forward, and sometimes those symptoms don't show right now, because we don't know about what's going on in our heads. So that's, I think, more the scary part is what's the future hold for our heads.
For instance, I'm hearing Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know.
He's a kid that works really hard. Like, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. If he does, he corrects it, won't make the same mistake twice. And then you're going through a walkthrough, and everything's real serious, and you're walking through, and you're talking about something, and next thing you know, like, he's on the ground diving for a ball or rolling around, doing something like completely off the wall silly.
But he's making them with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure, because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot.
We're still not sure if he really lost his bike, or did he just want to get a new bike?
Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow.
We carved pumpkins this week.
The people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote.
Take a knee.
And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday.
It's a mystery.
Because Mitch McConnell is the reason he has two of those seats, because he stole Merrick Garland's seat, and then he did the exact same thing when he said they couldn't have Merrick Garland, putting in Amy Coney Barrett. So those two seats would not have been Trump's. Those two picks would not have been Trump's. They would have been Obama's and Joe's, but they're not. They're Trump's, and that was all McConnell. And then for McConnell to stand there and say this belongs in the courts, and then the courts weigh in, and their decision is that yes, he's above the law. He's basically a king. We're going to be a country to go back to a monarchy. Like, what?
Yeah, I was so furious because the rationalization, John Roberts' rationalization was a president needs to act boldly and unhesitatingly. The idea being that a president cannot be encumbered by having to think for even a moment, or consider what's legal for even a moment. And it's the dumbest thing. It's like that's the difference. A king does not have to worry about what the law is.
Right.
A president does. That is literally the difference, you boneheaded douchebag.
Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. You might remember me from Breitbart, holding my wood outside Home Depot, my 2016 op-ed, I will never vote for Donald Trump, and here's why, or my 2020 vote for Donald Trump. What do you want? If you can't beat them, renounce your values and grovel before them. I don't care. I bet I make more than you. I'm sure I make more than you. And today, for the next 3 hours in this video, I'm going to destroy Barbie. I'm going to destroy her. I'm going to own her. I'm going to own her and destroy her. Those two things. I'm going to show you on the doll where the doll movie triggered me. The basic premise of the whole mise en scène is that Barbie is some kind of liberator figure, and basically that sets up 2 hours of non-stop, incoherent, feminist, liberal, women's studies, globalistic, secular human propaganda vomit disguised as cinema. And it's woke, too. Look, I spend the entire week feeding the grievance complexes of white men. When my weekend comes, I want an escape. I don't want woke Barbie. This Barbie ignores men and looks down on them and mocks them. Like, I mean, and I've known women like this. Most women I've known, socially and in professional settings, have exactly like this. Honestly, I have not been this angry since that couples counselor kept trying to convince me that the female orgasm was real. It's not. You guys know. It's a myth. Like climate change and racism. This movie uses the word patriarchy. A lot. A lot. I mean, use it once, fine. It goes over their heads, they don't know anything. But if you keep using that word, little girls are gonna know what it means. What's wrong with you? Most of the film is spent just smearing America's most vulnerable minority, wealthy white businessmen. Totally offensive. I was so outraged, I threw my booster seat at the screen. There's this transgender Barbie who exists in the film for seemingly no other reason than to tell children that transgenders are people that we should be nice to. Who's putting this in our kids' brains? Like, nobody ever gangs up on the trans Barbie, or calls it names, or says it's mentally ill, or misgenders it to make it cry, which, by the way, is completely legal, and you are allowed to do that anytime. They just accept it's trans like it's a person. Ha! Let's see if Islam lets you get away with that, Barbie. All the men in this movie are portrayed as these pathetic, frustrated vessels of impotent rage because they can't control women. Men are not trying to control women, and that's why we have to stop Greta Gerwig from ever being able to make a movie again. The way men are portrayed in this movie is unforgivable. Look, when my wife's date comes over on a Friday night to make love to her in our marital bed while I sit and watch in a dark corner from my chair, I don't want to see some woke Marxist giving her the pleasure I cannot. You might have seen in my last video, I bought some Barbies and set them on fire on my grill. How do you like that, Mattel? I burned your product, and all you've got is my money I paid you before I burned. In short, this film will make you so proud to be part of the gender that denies them control of their own bodies.
Been to Sierra Leone?
Good morning.
Good morning. No, I've never been to Sierra Leone.
Now you have to go. It rhymes. Oh my God.
I'm from there, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you like me?
Because of you, I actually get messages of people asking me what part of Sierra Leone I'm from.
Oh my God.
You're like, it just tracks in the jingle. That's all.
Yeah, that's
So, are you like me? Are you just not want to hear another of stupid voices, stupid flapping Garfield's anus lips, just little bit of a mistake. Michelle made a. Just like, did you see his crowd had to correct him that World War II has already happened? I mean, are we gonna, we were saying earlier, this is our what the actual era that we are living through, that we're gonna look back someday, right?
Right, yeah. And I think, I mean, for decades, but, you know, we can't, I'm hoping that this election does it. I am tired of him, but we thought he would go away in 2020 when we beat him as well. And then the next him is just going to step up. Maybe they won't be quite as annoying, but I mean, we'll be sick of them too. There's always going to be, I think, this problem unless we can open up a huge lead and like just relegate him to the dustbin with a massive blowout.
Do you know people are actually talking about and even writing about that he just wants to be pardoned, that he's going to, it's like basically a hostage crisis we're setting up, that, you know, in exchange for, he'll go peacefully in exchange for, you know, being pardoned for and not prosecuted for any of his crimes. And I'm going to guess how you feel about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks. But I'm like more worried about like Elon Musk, right? Like he actually launches our national security satellites and has a top secret clearance. And, you know, I know that the Department of Justice is investigating him. Multiple agencies are investigating him, but are they not able to do anything because he's gray mailing him? He could just run out and blurt a bunch of our secrets. He probably already is, but like I don't even know how you handle somebody like that.
Well, I mean, as someone who started, you know, obviously Mueller, She Wrote is the podcast that, you know, everybody, you know, first remembers you for. And these stories are all out in the open now, that he's talking to Putin all the time, Elon Musk, and that, you know, this latest, like, ballots being destroyed was a Russian operation. And I mean, now the plot could not be more obvious about Russia, could it?
Yeah, and we thank Bill Barr for that normalization because of Bill Barr, who landed the Mueller plane and prevented any obstruction charges from happening with his fancy memos and get out of jail free cards that he wrote for Trump. We couldn't hold anybody accountable for talking to Russia. When we found out about that, we were all shocked and surprised. Now it's all out in the open because there was no deterrence from the Mueller investigation, thanks to Barr and his lackeys.
Yeah.
And everybody got pardoned anyway. So now it's like nobody's afraid to do it. And that's why Elon Musk, I think, is in everybody's face like, yeah, I'm going to keep giving away my $1 million to voters.
Yeah.
You can't touch me.
Despite a stern letter from Merrick Garland. Okay, so listen, I feel like I've left the Merrick Garland train, and I'm sending you a postcard from the future. But I take your points, by the way, about, because I know you talk. Go ahead, talk about this, because I heard. I think Bob Seska read one of your tweets, but go ahead.
I know everybody thinks I'm insane, and that's fine. And I will die on this hill.
I just said to Jody, I'm not scared of her tattoos. But anyway, go ahead.
Because on Saturday, Elon Musk announced his lottery.
Right. Yeah.
Sunday, Merrick Garland got the Public Integrity Unit together and the Voting Crimes Unit together, and they met and they decided that they were going to open an investigation and send a letter explaining to Merrick Garland or to Elon Musk that what he was doing is illegal. Because remember how Don Jr. was too dumb to crime?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to make that same mistake. That's what that letter is. You're breaking the law. And now he's continued to do it. Now, we don't know if Garland met with the PA, the Pennsylvania DA.
Joyce Vance made that point, too, that it makes it easier to prosecute when you've already gotten a warning, right?
Right. And he, within 24 hours, opened an investigation and sent a letter. And I don't think it was a warning letter. In the letter, it actually says, you are breaking the law.
Yeah.
You continue to do this. Now, as we know, criminal investigations take a long time. So he probably told the PA DA, like, you sue to get an injunction to stop him from doing this. In the meantime, we're going to do an investigation because you got to get documents, you got to get phones, you got to get testimony from people, you got to get witnesses, you got to take it all into a grand jury, you got to get a true bill. That can take a minute. So, we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. Everybody just assumes because they have this blanket blind hatred for Merrick Garland because they were misinformed about when he started investigating Trump and the coup. And it bums me out. So, Chapter 2, on tyranny, defend institutions. I will not stop.
Okay, no, I don't. And I support you in that. But talk about that a little bit more because what happens is you read the headline like, oh, the Pennsylvania is going to go ahead and do it. But so talk about that. What you were mentioning is the Philadelphia district attorney filed a lawsuit against Musk in an attempt to shut down this $1 million cash giveaway to registered voters, calling it an illegal lottery. That's the legal. But so what you're saying is you think he's coordinating with Merrick Garland or with that Merrick Garland told him to go for it. Explain what you just said.
Sure. The DOJ often coordinates with local law enforcement, local DAs, and local prosecutors. And, sometimes they're like, are you going to sue? I'm going to sue? Well, we shouldn't both sue. Why don't you sue and I'll do the criminal probe, And they kind of hash it out. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't speak at all. We don't know because the DOJ never tells us anything. And the fact that they never tell us anything leaves open that vacuum where we can all assume that he's a milquetoast missing attorney general who's napping and whatever else everybody says. But, he's back
You're
there.
channeling Ellie Mistal now. You are a really good impressionist.
Thank you. But we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. And I don't like to go after our institutions based on things that we don't know, particularly why isn't everybody mad at Chris Mays, who failed to indict Donald Trump, or Fani Willis, who took longer than Merrick Garland to indict Donald Trump, or Dana Nessel, who hasn't indicted Donald Trump. Nobody's mad at them. And that's because Putin isn't trying to get us to hate them. He's trying to get us to hate our federal institutions.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's hard is it just feels like all of this stuff, even Trump saying out loud, Mike Johnson and I have a little secret. It's because they feel like they got away with it. That, like, of course they're planning to do it again. Of course we have people, he has officials in place in certain states that will do the fake elector scheme again, that will refuse to certify, etc. And I think you can forgive people for being a little like, wow, is Merrick Garland prepared for this? Is the DOJ prepared for what's happening?
The Supreme Court held it up for 8 months and then gave him presidential immunity.
Yeah.
And people are blaming Merrick Garland for that.
Yeah. No, I have enough blame to go around. The Supreme Court is absolutely at the top of my list. But I wanted to get your take on this. A federal judge granted a request by Trump's attorneys to extend their deadlines to respond to Jack Smith's immunity motion. Trump's attorneys argued they were displaced and disrupted when Hurricane Milton made landfall near Sarasota. So they asked the court to extend their deadline to respond to the special counsel's immunity motion until December. Judge Chutkan agreed to extend those deadlines, which the special counsel did not oppose. I don't know, from November this to November that to December. But you can't help it. It just feels like, oh my God, his delay tactic works every time, right?
That's a pretty nominal delay from what he asked for before. He asked for an additional 3 weeks. Well, he asked for an additional 5 weeks, and he was given 3 weeks because Judge Chutkan actually gave Jack Smith an extra 3 weeks, so he could go, bam, get another whole shiny new indictment on him from a brand new grand jury. But so it's pushed back a little bit. And this is the first time they've used a hurricane.
Yeah, that's new.
And so you can't I've been through a lot of court proceedings, and you can't really be like if they came in tomorrow and said, my grandmother passed away, you can't really be like, roll her old bones on in here and prove it. We don't believe you. They usually just grant these things. And if somebody says they've been, a lawyer tells the court they've been, displaced by Hurricane Milton, the court tends to believe them. And it's not that much of a delay. The whole response to the immunity motion, Trump asked for, he didn't want to respond until after the election too. What gets me is that in a separate motion, trying to get the case dismissed because they think Jack Smith was appointed improperly, Donald Trump whines and complains that he's not going to get to tell his side of the immunity story before the election. And Judge Chutkan was like, you asked for an extension past the election. If you would like to turn it in before the election, there's nothing stopping you, sir.
Yeah.
But he does keep getting these extensions. He really does.
Yeah. Despite if we have any little small Merrick Garland, differences, I will still love you until the end of time. And this ad that you did, we asked if it's okay to play it because I'm sure it's traumatic every time you got to tell the story over and over again. But to me, how did Frangela say it? Actually, they said it best Friday. They're like, this is about Roe, not bros. I'm so sick of the media punditry and the spin. You know it, I know it. We're seeing it in female numbers. We're seeing Rovember is coming, and there are so many brave women like you telling personal stories is part of what is powering this. So do you mind if we play your ad? Because it's just so beautifully done.
Yeah.
29 years ago, while serving in the U.S. military, I was drugged and violently raped. And that crime resulted in an unwanted pregnancy. At the time, because of the protections of Roe v. Wade, I was able to seek reproductive health care in Florida, where I was stationed. And when Trump's Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I was immediately worried about all the service members trapped in states with abortion bans where they might be forced to carry their rapists' babies to term. So I decided to share my story with the Washington Post. And a few months later, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris enacted policy that grants leave, no questions asked, to service members and their families so they can travel to get the reproductive health care they need. The next president of the United States is poised to appoint as many as 3 Supreme Court justices. But if Donald Trump returns to office, he and his Republican lapdogs in Congress will repeal this policy, stranding our active duty service members and their families in states that will deny them access to life-saving reproductive care. Kamala Harris will restore the protections of Roe v. Wade, but she needs a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate to get it done. This November 5th, the choice couldn't be more clear. Vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, but also make sure you vote for Democrats all the way down the ballot. Our freedom is in your hands.
Wow. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. You posted that on our Women for Harris thing, and I said, this is fantastic, and I want to drive to San Diego and hug you. Possibly spoon you. Thank you for that. It's, the fact that we're in this place, too, where, it's like, hey, women, everybody just dredge up their most painful time in their life for us, I mean, it is really astounding where we are in 2024, isn't it?
Well, the storytelling, from the brave women who started the Me Too movement to all of these incredible women, Hadley Duvall, the Thurman's family, just coming forward and sharing their trauma in order to get their stories out there so that people understand the stakes has been incredible. I think that the underlying impetus for 2024 and what we see on Election Day is going to be storytellers.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We have the whole hour with you, so let's let that settle, because that is some
Okay. If you
powerful
want,
stuff.
I can give you a list of things that I think Merrick Garland screwed up. If it helps.
Oh, yes, when we come back.
Yes. Okay, good.
We can't have nice things again. Okay. 20 minutes after the hour. This portion. I remember you called into the radio show and read Trump tweets as the Joker.
Yes.
But
well, after doing
at
the
least the Joker had some redeeming qualities.
Well, the thing is, after doing it for so long, I recognize really good demented dialogue. And there was a tweet that he did, and someone commented, "This sounds like something the Joker would say while threatening to poison Gotham City's water supply." And I thought, you know what, I should do that. Because, he can't just say Merry Christmas. He has to say, Merry Christmas, even to the losers and communists and Democrat left-wing assholes. Why can't, just say Merry Christmas and stop? We'd be happy with that. But I have a message, I say, the force is strong with the Democratic Party. And my message to MAGA is, go force yourself, all right? I like that because it sounds dirty and it's not, and I don't work blue. Hey.
Of course not. If you could devise a campaign that is meant to alienate more segments of the population, Chairman, I was saying, what is J.D. Vance's door-knocking operation? Is he just going to call every woman in America a whore? Hi, you're a C word and your mother's a whore. Thank you. I'm J.D. Vance. Mark, I know you're brave to speak out politically in Hollywood. I know you wish you could have Scott Baio's career, but
or Kevin Sorbo's.
But talk a little bit about why you've decided, because they always say actors don't want to be political.
Right. Well, the honest truth is that I've always voted. I've always followed politics very closely, but I never publicly expressed how I felt and how I was going to vote. Even in 2016 with Hillary. But this time, I felt like I have a responsibility. That it's far more important, because I've had people say, you could hurt your career. I don't care. This is more important. Who cares if I get a guest spot on The Mandalorian versus a mentally ill person back in the Oval Office? There's no contest. So, basically, I don't care. I never block people on Twitter because I don't want to give them the satisfaction of the screenshot that said Mark Hamill blocked you. So I've never blocked anyone. But I was muting people like crazy. And then I looked up at the clock and I said, Mark, you've been muting people for 20 minutes. Now I don't even mute people. I start to scan because obviously there's an equal and opposite reaction from the MAGA crowd. Ooh, do they hate me. Yeah, yay. Lucky for me, I don't care.
And you know why they hate you? Because you're going to help us blow up the Death Star in November.
Yes. Well, I always urge people, don't turn to the orange side.
McConnell is the reason he has two of those seats, because he stole Merrick Garland's seat, and then he did the exact same thing when he said they couldn't have Merrick Garland, putting in Amy Coney Barrett. So those two seats would not have been Trump's. Those two picks would not have been Trump's. They would have been Obama's and Joe's, but they're not. They're Trump's, and that was all McConnell. And then for McConnell to stand there and say this belongs in the courts, and then the courts weigh in, and their decision is that yes, he's above the law. He's basically a king. We're going to be a country to go back to a monarchy. Like, what?
Yeah, I was so furious because the rationalization, John Roberts' rationalization was a president needs to act boldly and unhesitatingly. The idea being that a president cannot be encumbered by having to think for even a moment, or consider what's legal for even a moment. And it's the dumbest thing. It's like that's the difference. A king does not have to worry about what the law is.
Right.
A president does. That is literally the difference, you boneheaded douchebag.
Hosts have exactly 12 hours from now to do the right thing. As a woman, I make the rules. Go. All right. I mean, Allison, that's going to be the other story of our time, is this cowardice of the Republican Party, of the mainstream media, of these billionaires. Like we were saying earlier, really, Jeff Bezos, you're not going to get hurt in a second Trump. You'll be fine. All the rich white billionaires will be fine. It's a lot of the rest of us, But go ahead.
But I'm a brilliant businessman. I'm Jeff Bezos. And even though I've long wanted to pull presidential endorsements, I decided to do it 11 days before an election. Like, no, you're a dumb man.
Yeah.
And don't understand the business that you're in.
Or that's a terrible James Comey impression.
Or you're lying to me, right? Like, don't pee on my leg. That, especially with your rich pee. I don't need it.
Doing fine with my poor pee over here. So, you were saying before the break, I've said this, I defend you all the time. You've said plenty of things about Merrick Garland and, disagreeing or mistakes you feel like he's made. So I get it. I mean, I totally get it. And like I was saying, Joyce Vance has, echoed some points. So I get, that there are, sadly for us, certain steps that have to be taken in the rule of law. But talk a little bit about what stuff that you have been frustrated with Merrick Garland.
Well, sure. He fought to tooth and nail so that we wouldn't get to see that Bill Barr memo, that screwed over the entire Mueller investigation. He lost to Judge Beryl Howell, and we got to see most of it. He also didn't oppose Bill Barr wanting to represent Donald Trump in the E. Jean Carroll case until, of course, the Second Circuit came back with a decision, and then Merrick Garland said, you know what, you're right. DOJ is not going to represent Trump in E. Jean Carroll. So he overturned what Bill Barr did, but he took a long time to do it. That bummed me out. And then I think he should have appointed a special counsel in 2021, although it wouldn't have been Jack Smith, because Jack Smith was still putting away war criminals at The Hague at that time. So he wouldn't have been available. It would have been somebody else. But yeah.
So you're a fantastic comedian. You were hilarious at Phoenix Sexy Liberal. I got to get your take on this whole Madison Square Garden thing. 29 minutes after the hour. Allison Gill is here, bitches.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn in the past few hours.
Politicians under attack for opposing Venezuela's president. Dozens of his supporters breached the grounds of the National Assembly on Wednesday.
The peaceful transfer of power, the cornerstone of American democracy, seemed a highly abstract concept today, as Trump supporters clashed with police as they tried, and succeeded, to storm the Congress, where America's elected leaders had gathered to certify the election victory of Joe Biden.
Lawmakers and journalists tried to get to safety inside the building, but some of the attackers also got in before the door could be closed.
They were literally banging on the doors of Congress. And then some Trump supporters managed to get inside. They were armed and wandering the Capitol building,
unleashing chaos
and made their way inside the chamber, where they chased and beat lawmakers and journalists at the end of a special session marking the country's Independence Day. At least 5 opposition deputies were injured, some bleeding from the head, stumbling around the assembly corridors.
These pictures appear to show a woman protester being shot inside the Capitol building. A stretcher was sent in. She was later given CPR.
One of them, Americo de Gracia, had to be taken on a stretcher to an ambulance suffering from convulsions.
Once again, paramilitary groups with ties to the government broke into the Legislative Palace. 4 lawmakers were injured with cut heads, broken bones. 2 employees of the Parliament Television Network suffered head injuries. Firearms were brought in by civilians under the complacent watch of security services.
A protester breached the inner sanctum of the chamber. The vice president had to be removed to safety by his Secret Service detail. And then the joint session was adjourned. Earlier, the Republican Senate leader, for so long a loyal lieutenant of the president, turned on him with this withering assessment.
This election were overturned by mere allegations from the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral.
President Nicolás Maduro, who was overseeing the traditional Independence military parade, condemned the violence and called for an investigation, but also planted doubts about who might be behind the attack.
I have been informed that during this important, brilliant, beautiful civil military event celebrating total independence, there have been some strange occurrences. They're always strange when the opposition is involved.
In a rally outside the White House, Donald Trump encouraged his loyal base to fight to overturn the result of this bitterly contested election.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Yes, the injuries hurt us, but not as much as the pain we feel each time we see our country falling apart when they kill our youth. We will continue forward, don't have the slightest doubt.
Of his supporters needing little encouragement to join the fight.
We're here to support, if violence happens, like it happens, but we're not going to start it. We're just here to defend ourselves.
With blood.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I support Trump. Freedom is paid for with blood, and tyranny always masquerades itself as safety and security, and that's what we're fighting against right now.
Oh, Grampy. Matlock's not real.
Either are my teeth.
I like corn on the cob as long as you...
Oh, Allison Gill. It's just... Okay. How is that not just the biggest story after the mainstream media, pushed Biden out of the race? That this guy, oh my God. I mean, that's the other, missed story from the Madison Square Garden thing. He was slurring and stumbling and low energy and just,
They're so mad that they don't have Joe Biden to go after anymore and that he's the old candidate now. And it's you can tell how mad they are that they have to go up against not just a very capable, much younger, way more attractive, super awesome person who's way, smarter and more just better for the job, but is also a black woman. That drives him insane.
Yeah.
And when he finds out that the ellipse has been doubled, her speech tonight has been doubled from 20,000 to 52,000.
Yep.
He's gonna.
Yeah. She's breaking his brain, what was left of it.
Yeah.
But so I got to get your take as a comedian on this. It's just, first of all, everyone is called BS. Of course they knew what he was going to. He's known for this racist humor. There's a teleprompter. I mean, that they would not vet the people that are speaking. And it wasn't just him. It was a symphony of racism and sexism, right?
Right. And these are hack jokes. These are tropes from like the 70s. Like,
Oh my
these
God.
are just.
Blacks and watermelons. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you effing kidding me?
What an original joke. And you golden rule of comedy, everybody understands this. And I think the great George Carlin said it best. You don't punch down.
Right.
And by the way, I didn't, Jen Kirkman had told us, I didn't know who this guy was. Sadly, there's, a huge industry, I guess, for these racist douche bros, But because Joe Rogan once suggested to Trump that he hire this Tony Hinchcliffe to write for him. So they know exactly what kind of stuff he was going to do.
Of course they knew.
Oh, yeah. And it was loaded into the teleprompter. And he was reading it from the teleprompter. And he was workshopping the jokes the night before.
He was. Yeah.
And I love this defense. The crowd didn't mind. Yeah, that was the more... I mean, oh, yes, the other racists really liked it. I mean, some Trump spokesperson...
That's really sad.
First of all, she was lauding the diversity of the rally goers. Okay. And blasting the media for covering one joke in poor taste. It was not one joke. And she said the crowd, they didn't mind. Again, it was a diverse group of people. Oh, please. Okay. The joke fell flat, but the crowd was there because they know who President Trump is, and they know he wants to be a president for all Americans. Oh, please. Oh, my God.
I think my best is with the Trump campaign backed off the Puerto Rico joke, but not the Muslim, Jew, or black or anything else joke. Like,
thank you. Where was it? Yeah, Trump. Do I have this story? Trump wanted an apology from, was it Tim Walz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants an apology from Walz.
Right, not for all of the horrible racist. Do we have it? Where's that montage? Hold, please. Dana Bash played
10, 9 and 10.
9, yeah.
Oh, 9.
The reason I'm going to say that is because that comment about Puerto Rico was part of a theme that we heard last night. Here's just some of the other speakers at the rally.
She is the devil, whoever screamed that out. She is the Antichrist.
Americans sleeping in their own feces on a bench in Central Park. But the illegals, they get whatever they want.
Her and her pimp handlers will destroy our country.
When I hear Kamala speak, it sounds like a script from Hollywood with a really, really bad actress.
As Hulk Hogan is such a good actor himself.
Right. He apparently also made an oral sex joke targeting Vice President Harris involving a physical mimicry. Tucker Carlson misidentified Harris's origins in a speech critics are calling racist and weird. Who was the sanitation worker? David Rem called Harris the Antichrist. Businessman Grant Cardone called her the pimp handler thing we just heard. But he would like an apology from Tim Walz. Trump said Tim Walz needs to apologize for his disgraceful comments smearing Trump supporters. This kind of rhetoric has already inspired assassination attempts.
Oh, God.
From 2 different registered Republicans. Right. Not from anyone on the left.
That's because we're disparaging Trump supporters. So the Trump supporters are getting really mad at Trump and then trying to assassinate him.
Because we're quoting his own generals and chief of staff. Right. Right. What Tim Walz said was, so do your Google on this. Donald Trump has this big rally going on in Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the 1930s in Madison Square Garden. And don't think for 1 second he doesn't know exactly what they're doing there. Thank you, Alice. I keep saying I forget, do people forget he started his campaign at Waco? There's no accidents.
Waco, he does all these rallies in sundown towns. He did a hate rally in Tulsa on the 99th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre.
Thank you.
The MSG rally was the same day as the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. Like these are coordinated. It's just too much. To write off as oopsie.
Yeah. Don't you love that the October surprise was supplied by him? What a moron.
I said that on today's Daily Beans. I said, doesn't the October surprise usually come from the opposing party?
He brought his own rake factory.
Yeah. Rake steppers, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, a former Republican strategist came away shaken after watching the rally. He said it was a call to violence. He said the only reason you have this kind of vitriol at a campaign rally at this stage is to incite violence, either because you know you're going to lose the race, yes, and because you need violence as a build-up to the election, including on Election Day. It could have the greatest impact in Pennsylvania, the one swing state that has a large Puerto Rican community. And he said violence is likely to come in many small places, not one big event. Polling places disrupted are a prime justification for contesting the entire election of key states and throwing numerous states into chaos and contention. That's the strategy. Allison, how concerned are you about that?
I mean, there's so many other strategies. What was the nod and the wink about the secret plan with Mike Johnson?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What do you think it is? I can't imagine.
Wow. I think he's gonna
Maybe
try
something
to
fake electors don't certify the election, something like that.
Not seat a speaker, not swear in the new Congress, maybe something like that, because he wrongly thinks that you need that. But somebody had pointed out, like, even last night on CNN, that MAGA guy said that horrible thing to Mehdi Hassan about his keeper. And somebody referred to this with like that and the Madison Square Garden rally. It's like an advent calendar of racism.
Yeah.
There's something new every day.
And they always say it's a joke, and we just don't get it. Oh, you're so woke. Oh, you have woke virus.
You guys are just offended. Everyone needs to stop being so offended by everything. You're going to tell Puerto Ricans to not be offended when you've called their nation a garbage island.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Yeah. And it's so far from the spirit of the Trump campaign, who called America garbage can.
Right. It's different, very different.
By the way, this just in, Steve Bannon has been released from federal prison 1 week before Election Day. If you need gout or herpes medication, there's going to be a run on that. I would hurry and get that.
Before I go lock my door real quick.
Buys all of it.
Yeah.
If you need shirts, I would buy those immediately, because he's going to buy up every available shirt.
That's the first thing he's going to do. It's not like Shawshank Redemption where he takes off his shirt. Steve Bannon's going to put on 3 shirts.
Right, 3 shirts.
And it's going to be like,
you are a delight, ma'am.
And you won't even have the courtesy to jet off to Zihuatanejo.
Exactly. Right?
Speaking of Republican, so as of Friday morning, almost 1.4 million Ohioans had already cast their ballot this November's election. But with Election Day drawing close, Ohio's Secretary of State and watchdog organizations have filed new lawsuits tied to voting. Secretary Frank LaRosa's case related to his ability to investigate supposed non-citizen registration has no real chance of affecting who can vote in the current election. But as election watchdogs have argued for months, it could serve as fodder for future claims of election fraud if the election doesn't go a certain way. You are doing a call for Sherrod Brown this week, correct?
Right. Yeah, on November 1st. We're really excited about it. I get to hang out with like Drew Carey and Ryan Stiles and Ed O'Neill and Carole King, and it's going to be... It's going to be so much fun, but it's such an important race because, as I said in my ad, we have to give her the Senate and the House too, or we can't codify Roe. And she said she'll get rid of the filibuster to get Roe back on the books.
Good.
Yeah,
I believe her.
And I think you've said it. We got to keep Mike Johnson and John Roberts' filthy paws off this election, right? We got to make it too big to rig, right?
Right, and if we don't have the Senate, it's going to be real hard to appoint some judges and maybe possibly Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, but a lot of God bless Mark Elias, right? I mean, he just he wins a lawsuit now it's like every hour on the hour practically. Yeah. But yeah, this Ohio lawsuit, like all of them, they're not going to win. But oh my God, how many of these have already been filed? And they're all about stopping people from voting.
All of them. And as I've said, Kamala Harris said that voting is the freedom that unlocks other freedoms. And I say Mark Elias unlocks voting. Yeah. He keeps everybody on the rolls. He gets these RNC trash lawsuits thrown out, trying to block people from voting, trying to block our military overseas from voting. They're still trying to do that in Michigan. Yeah. And Wisconsin. It's horrible.
And what's that about, Allison? Because they always say that, the military always votes for the Republican. Why are they? It's like they're just trying to suppress. Is it other people that live overseas they assume are going to tend toward Kamala Harris because they're not insane? Like, what is it?
Well, thanks to Democrats abroad, we have a much bigger coalition, but also thanks to the things that come out of Donald Trump's mouth the military isn't as supportive of Republicans as they used to be.
Yeah, well, thank you. By the way, the former Russell Vought, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget during Trump's first term, was caught on video discussing plans to override objections from the Defense Department to deploy U.S. military against American citizens. He discussed plans earlier this year to get around Pentagon bureaucrats by having Trump invoke the Insurrection Act and then order the military to put down protests. I mean, everything. We're no John Kelly fans, right? I mean, but like it's his generals and his chief of staff that are doing this warning. Of course, I believe them. It's being corroborated daily, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not a huge Liz Cheney fan. We don't agree on a lot of policy, but the stakes are different in this election. We all know that.
I think the one thing we can all agree on is Marjorie Taylor Greene has such pretty blonde hair, doesn't she, Donald? Hang on. Here he is. Yeah, got 4. Thanks. Yeah.
If something goes wrong, and Marjorie Taylor Greene with that beautiful blonde hair is driving down the highway in a hydrogen car, and the problem with a hydrogen car, if something goes wrong, it's like the atom bomb went off. You're not recognizable. But they say, we think we have it under control. That's not good enough. They'll say, we thought it was Marjorie Taylor Greene riding down the middle of the turnpike, but she's no longer recognizable. We found some of her. I won't say. We love her. Stand up. Marjorie, stand up.
Oh, my God. She was there?
She was there.
I'm sorry. Was that him talking about her? That was like the Daisy ad against Goldwater or Miller. Is that?
Scientists to work on hydrogen energy, but he wants us to drink bleach.
Right.
So her beautiful blonde hair is going to get blown up by a
hydrogen vehicle versus a gas-powered vehicle, which could also make you
blown up.
She's going to be in pieces. This is going to be in pieces. Did you see yesterday he wanted to be a whale psychiatrist because the windmills? Yeah. Something also.
Whatever. Yeah, whale psychiatrist.
Okay. All right. Also, Kamala is, as you know, importing rapists. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm. The American public is outraged that Kamala is importing savage criminals who assault, rape, murder our women and our girls. I'm sorry to say that. That's not true. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's happening.
Okay. Not to be confused with the illegal immigrants that she is personally performing trans surgery on in prison. Mm-hmm. Okay. Allison.
Breathtaking.
This is just, it's just like a campaign on acid. Like I think someday we're not going to believe we lived through any of this, are we?
I mean, who among us has ever seen anything like this? I mean, it was weird in 2020. It was weird in 2016. I mean, it's one of the first things he said was that they're bringing in rapists and Mexicans are rapists and terrible murderers.
Yeah.
But now I think like it's become so normalized, and I think our media has a lot to answer for.
Thank you.
Coming decades.
Yep. Thank you. 48 minutes after the hour, this portion.
Oh, hi. Come. Walk with me. I kind of want to talk about the least of my people. You know, every year around this time, I always got to try real hard to not smack upside the head all these hypocrites, snakes, and vipers who call undocumented U.S. workers illegals. I don't like getting angry, but this shit makes me want to flip a table. Illegals is a racist, dehumanizing, otherizing term. It's designed to make other people appear less than human, so you won't feel bad when you treat them inhumanely. It's a really shitty noun. Ask yourself this: when's the last time Fox News called any other kind of lawbreaker an illegal? If you do 56 in a 55 zone, aren't you an illegal too? Huh? Come on. Now, you wouldn't know it from watching Tucker, but the majority of undocumented immigrants in this country are people who overstayed their visas. However, every night on Fox, he who tucks and his brood of vipers say illegals, and they're always referring to brown people crossing a border. Here's a dirty secret. Politicians could end undocumented immigration tomorrow if they wanted by locking up the white people who do all the hiring. This is supply and demand economics, my friends. There's a gigantic help wanted sign at our southern border, and there's no wall you can ever build that'll be big enough to hide it. And politicians of both parties are in no rush to take down the help wanted sign. Rich people pay Fox people to make working people blame poor people. Now here's 10 facts about illegal people. Number 1. Undocumented immigrants commit crimes at a much lower rate than US-born citizens. Why? Fear of deportation. So imagine if we could do that to homegrown criminals. Number 2, undocumented immigrants pay state, local, and sales tax over $400 billion in 2017 alone. Those guys standing outside Home Depot looking for day labor work, they're not the ones who outsource your job to China. By the way, racist idiots, there are no national politicians currently calling for open borders or amnesty. Anyone who tells you there are is lying, or as I like to call it, bearing false witness. You know who did call for that? Ronald Reagan. That's right, the star of all your right-wing porn fantasies. St. Ronnie gave amnesty to millions of undocumented people and claimed that open borders allows them to just go home when they're done working here. But don't feel bad, you racist douchebags. Reagan still supported apartheid. You ever notice whenever they raid one of these meatpacking plants down south and they arrest several hundred illegal workers, they're a lot slower to arrest the guys in the back room who did the hiring, who are counting all the cash. And that is all the proof you need to know that the illegal immigration scare is regressive gaslighting bullshit. Donald Trump hires undocumented labor. Going back to the 80s, it was Polish workers who built Trump Tower, but they never got called illegals because they're white. Even as president, Trump continued to employ undocumented workers. He's now done it in 2 different centuries, all to avoid paying American workers a living wage. You are being suckered by millionaire at birth hypocrites. Does it physically hurt to be this freaking gullible? Oh, let's talk about the wall. You morons understand that they were never actually going to build a physical medieval wall for thousands of miles stretching across deserts and rivers and forests and private and commercial properties and seizing land from American citizens using eminent domain law, right? You understand that was a scam? It wasn't going to get finished. Mexico was never going to pay for it. And even if they had, twits, ladders and shovels are things. They looted the military for a scam. Steve Bannon was ripping people off and Trump pardoned him for it, and they are both now wagging their tiny junk at you. And that's not a pretty sight. The majority of American voters rejected Donald Trump's immigration agenda in 2016. The majority rejected it again in 2020, but he still has a chance to be the first man to lose the popular vote 3 times. I alone can do it. What a dick. So remember, MAGA dudes, one of these days, you're going to stand before St. Peter. And on that day, you will discover what extreme vetting really fucking means. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and forgive me, I should have said at the top of the video, I'm only dressed in the tunic because it's laundry day, and I had nothing else to wear. Oh, and I'm only wearing the fake beard to hide my rosacea, so that's... Oh, you thought I was trying to look like him? Dude, I look nothing like him. I'm white.
reported. Jack, Daily Beans, clean up on aisle 45. MSW Media, the woman, the myth, the legend, the industry.
Yes.
So we were talking earlier, Allison, about the ballot boxes on fire. Hundreds of ballots lost after Drox boxes seen burning in blue states. It's so, I wonder who could be behind this. The good news is we were saying we have lots of listeners up there. We encourage you. The voters who dropped off ballots were asked to immediately contact the auditor's office, get a new ballot. Do not let these bastards steal this election, right? I mean, we have just got to. This is why I keep encouraging early voting, Allison, because you have time if there's Republican effery. Yeah. But talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get your ballot in now. The USPS has said we would like to see you send it in at least a week before Election Day. So that would be today.
Yeah.
We have 1 week left to go.
Right.
So
They're trying to disqualify anyone that arrives after Election Day, which a lot of you can't control, right? If obviously Lewis, let's not get Louis DeJoy's dirty paws on this election either. How about that?
Let's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not. If it's at your counter, fill it out. Send it in today.
Yeah. Thank you, Allison Gill. Chris, who said I'm resigning from the Post editorial board because the imperative to endorse Kamala Harris over Donald Trump is about as morally clear as it gets. Worse, our silence is exactly what Donald Trump wants for the media, for us to keep quiet. Who said that?
Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, that was a good guess, actually. No, it's a Washington Post.
Okay.
Report. We were just saying, Allison, that I think, the canceling your subscription, Joe, just punishes the good reporters that are doing a lot of good work. It's not going to affect Jeff Bezos' bottom line a whit, I don't think. And same with LA Times. We know a lot of great reporters here at the LA Times. And, I don't want to punish them because of the billionaire owner. Is cowardice, right?
I don't know. I'm kind of with Ellie Mistal, who you mentioned a little bit earlier.
Don't you use Ellie Mistal against me, because I will Merrick Garland the Jesus out of you, lady.
He said, we as just the regular folk, we don't have a lot of levers to pull. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But honestly, boycotting Amazon would hurt him more than your Washington Post subscription.
Yeah, that's going to take me a second to let go of that. Allison Gill is going to be on a call for Sherrod Brown. So important, Ohio. We've got to, as Allison said, the Senate and the House for Kamala as well. So thank you, you democracy warriors.
Yes, you're the best.
Hottie Boombalati, you tattooed goddess.
You too. I miss you. Hug me.
I miss you too. All right. We'll see you tomorrow on the Stephanie Miller Show.